the supernatural, whether they be kachinas, whether they be the different spirit people from different parts of the world, but most of them are from the galaxies beyond, so to speak. And so we are now in the stage of what our grandfathers or the historians of our tribes used to prophesy. He said, if you do not follow these certain procedures, certain protocols, these certain ways of doing these things, then that's things are going to happen. But however, the keepers and the watchers have always been here with us, and they will always take care of, good or bad. They've been here. They were not here to hurt us. They were sort of like make sure that we continue to do what was given us as far as protocols were concerned from the beginning. I believe, and from what is happening right now, is that because of what this country did through the wars and how they when they went into the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb detonations, and also distorting the weather patterns and weather systems by their own curious tools and technology. I believe that they're here because they're seeing this too much activity that's going on, but this was also prophesied that if right and there are going to be things happening according to the Zuni teachings about earthquakes, about bad weather, about the sun not rising. There's so many prophecies, earthquakes especially.
Have you seen these prophecies starting to be fulfilled?
I believe I mean that's happening right now. You look at the patterns of the weather, but a lot of this is again distorted by those people that are out there for a to sell a book.
Yeah, now I know you're not into the fear factor of this. You're
No.
just into the awareness part of it.
Yes, the awareness and the factors is to learn more about it through. There's a lot of things that happen throughout the country, especially on the information that we transfer. UFO Congress is one of the ways to do it. There's a lot of shows on TV now that are exposing a lot of these events and things that are happening. Again, our own tribal uh, people have this information, and they can no longer sort of suppress it because of what's happening within our lands right now. On a given, on any given week, you can see at least one UFO in Zuni, for example. There's a lot of other things that are happening, but it should not be a fear factor because they haven't done anything bad. They, there's never been anything happened bad in the past, and they appear. And I believe right now that they're appearing in very short times is to get us conditioned. It's like a dying man a man dying of thirst. You don't go over there and give him a whole pint of water. You got to give him when he was dying of thirst. You got to sort of put him back and spoon feed him when he gets to that point. I think this is where we're at that stage, and all these books that are now being written. There's a lot of things that you see in the air right now. That a lot of it is not. Some of it uh, is is generated by the CIA and the black ops and the military and all that. But a lot of these other things are not of those type. And in some, unfortunately, in the past, we've had some contact that was made with maybe the bad guys in the universe. Of course, everywhere there's always the good and bad. But I think that a lot of technology that was transferred to us as the American government people, I think they're being used again as a fear factor. It's no different than what the Catholic Church went through. It's so the the real thing is to go back and educate yourself within our own systems that we had that before anybody outside influence came about, because it's been here throughout the history of time. We've been contacted before, when we will be contacted again. And so all these things like crop circles, there's messages that are there. It's like I have said it many times, the about especially like the petroglyphs. We have those people now that do not have the understanding of what they are. The people that you could have interpreted are now gone. So now what is happening right now is that how do you interpret this thing? How do you convey this message? But there will be some type of a revealing, and I'm a firm believer in that.
Are you ever approached by younger Zuni men and women who say, Mr. Mahooty, I'd like you to teach me about our ancient customs? Are somebody in my family saw a UFO a couple weeks ago or a month ago, and I'm interested in finding out what's going on. I know you're a member of the Kachina Society. I know you're a member of the Galaxy Medicine Society. Are you starting to see any young people jump up to fill that void that's been there?
But there's a lot of young kids that are very interested in that. But then again, we have to look at our educational system. They're so programmed to not ask questions. They're so programmed by our own tribal ways to say you're not supposed to ask those type of questions. It's sort of like maybe for a long time I thought that the reason that they did not want to say these things because they really did not know, and that's also a factor. But I think right now is when young people like that come up to me and ask about those questions, I go and explain to them. First of all, got to give them the history. I think that people do not know their history, and so I have to sort of give them a background on that. Why, what was supposed to be today, and why it's happening like that. Then I go into that type of approach. However, on a very high religious order system, it's quite difficult because it's very complex. I can learn my own way, but I do not know the other ways. So you have to say, oh, so I have to tell them, well, you have to go ask this other person about that information. But I do try to take as many people and let them know how to go about doing these things.
You've also said that the Zuni people are light years ahead of modern society in terms of their understanding of the extraterrestrial phenomena.
Mhm.
What do you mean by all that?
Well, we again that is connected with spirituality. The spirituality talks about things that are not of material things. When I talk about when I talk about spirituality, I talk about everything has a life, whether it be a tree, whether it be a rock. And the other thing too is that you have to really live that life in order to really understand it. Because if you're not living that life and you're not having that connection, you'll never know. One person can spend a whole lifetime and more in trying to learn all the different rituals, and he'll never learn all of it. And a lot of people are proficient in them, and I really admire them, but that's because they've been started very young.
Now, you just said lifetimes and more.
Yes,
Do you believe in reincarnation?
yes, I do.
Have you seen evidence of it?
I have